You're in the newsroom on CNN Philippines tonight. Commuters now bearing the impact of fewer and slower MRT trains during rush hour, resulting in long lines. Officials explain the reason behind this. London police expect more casualties in a high-rise apartment fire. Philippine embassy officials confirm Filipinos were affected. And dub smash queen Yaya Dub Maine Mendoza breaks her silence on why she has to leave Twitter. Good evening, I'm Mitzi Borromeo. Fewer trains, slower speed. It's taking longer for MRT commuters to arrive at their destinations beginning today. That's because train officials will be carrying out safety checks. Let's get the latest this rush hour at the MRT Magallanes station. Isabella Montano joins us live from there. Isabella, surely a lot of frustration. How are commuters receiving these changes?
It's quite unbelievable, the sheer amount of people queuing up here at the Magallanes MRT station. The queues are snaking around the block all the way onto Chino Roces or Pasong Tamo extension, a few hundred meters into that road. Also, there are about two lines to access the MRT station. One is where we are through the main staircase leading into the station. The other line is through the mall that is adjacent to the station. And to give you an idea, staff of the admin of the mall are having to do crowd control because of the sheer amount of people. Also, we've been talking to the many people queuing up tonight, and for instance, we spoke to a man who works in Laguna. He says he was expecting to be home by 7 after leaving work at 4 p.m. But by the time we spoke, it was 7 p.m. and he hadn't even gotten to the staircase that leads into the train station. He had been queuing up for over an hour. Another woman queuing up for 2 hours and a half. Another man saying that he got off the bus around Bikutan right before the Magallanes flyover just so that he could get here faster because traffic was quite thick. And when he got here, he was just dealt this situation. So, yeah, he had been queuing up again for about 2 hours and a half.
Almost 1 hour na kami rito eh. Pilit eh. Isang oras na kami rito. Napakatagal tayo. 4:30 kami lumabas eh. 7 na.
Eto, pagod. Masakit na yung paa.
Kanina po mga 4:30 eh. So, bumaba ako before umakyat yung bridge. Naglakad po ako. Yes. Hindi, from Bikutan po.
Quite the ordeal, and you can imagine the reactions of people when they heard that this situation could continue through to Saturday and possibly even up to Sunday, because that is how long authorities of the MRT are saying that maintenance works will take. Also, this situation is definitely affecting traffic here. Traffic has been bumper to bumper from about 5, 6 p.m. this afternoon. Many people were seen or can be seen walking along the Magallanes flyover if you're coming from Pasay, because they're hoping to get to the MRT station faster than the bus or the taxi is taking, only to get here, find out that there are these long queues. So now a lot of people are sort of sparsely going back onto EDSA in hopes of getting yet again back on a bus. Mitzi.
You can see the frustration and exhaustion on their faces. Thank you very much. Isabella Montano reporting to us live from the MRT Magallanes station. As government forces intensify their offensive in Marawi City, CNN Philippines obtained exclusive photos showing Maute fighters operating in the front lines. In areas taken back by the government, there's strict monitoring of civilian movements. Our senior correspondent David Santos has more.
These photos obtained by CNN Philippines give a glimpse of Maute operations inside the war zone. It is unclear when these photos were actually taken. Maute members huddled in a house, brandishing their high-powered firearms. Another photo shows a Maute member preparing what appears to be a Molotov cocktail, or commonly known as fuel bombs. These are the so-called rat holes, where militants tear down walls in houses and buildings so they can move from one place to another.
Yung binubutasan nila yung mga buildings, nakakatakbo sila, pumasok sila sa isang area, makita mo lalabas sila sa kabilang area. That's the difficulty that we had because the terrain is there.
These are just among many challenges frontline troops face as they advance toward areas where militants are holding out. Except for bomb runs and airstrikes around midday on Wednesday, government offensive has notably slowed down. There are still sporadic gunfire and rumble of explosions, but lesser compared to the past days. Authorities are keeping an eye on civilians who may have links with militants. 60-year-old Almendra Saji Kusain and his 2 sons were held for questioning after emerging from the war zone. They are among hundreds of civilians trapped for days. Maute militants supposedly prevented them from leaving.
Mainit na yung laban, saka baka acid daw kami, pwede kami pukutan ng ulo. Kaya doon kami na-trap kasi baka inisip din nila na baka pwedeng acid kami ng mga sundalo, pero hindi naman ganun. Pupukutan nila kami ng ulo. Kaya doon kami natakot.
A group of Maranao women were questioned for loitering. A public utility jeepney loaded with appliances and household belongings was also flagged at a checkpoint. It remains unclear if the end is near for this crisis or just a temporary lull before fierce fighting resumes in the coming days. In Marawi City, David Santos, CNN Philippines.
The conflict in Marawi is leaving scars not just on this once peaceful Islamic city, but also among families who lost loved ones. But in the midst of an almost 4-week war are stories of hope. Our George Cahiles has the story.
Sa mahal namin na President Duterte, kami po ay Muslim. Itingil nyo na itong malalaking bomba. Hindi ka maawa sa akin. Maawa ka sa iba sa loob.
That was Saipuding Mariga early in June when he barged into the press conference of Secretary Jesus Dureza at the provincial capital. He aired his frustration over the government's failure to rescue his wife from the conflict. Now, we met Saipuding once again, this time excited and full of anticipation. He just learned the military has rescued his wife Geraldine, who had been trapped inside a war zone for 22 long, grueling days. The ambulance arrived, but to his dismay, no Geraldine got off the vehicle. His tears flowed out of frustration and disappointment as the military at first refused to release Geraldine. After negotiations, Geraldine was finally brought to the clinic where Saipuding was patiently waiting. Emotions poured from the pain of waiting in uncertainty and fear. Doctors needed to attend to his wife, who sustained a lot of wounds from gunshots and shrapnels during the first days of the hostilities. Her shrieks of pain echoed from inside the clinic. And her husband became more restless and worried. The following day, Geraldine was already at the Amay Pakpak Medical Center. She had a successful operation done by a team of doctors and medical staff.
Initially, the patient was in shock. So baka dahil sa sepsis ng mga complication ng sugat na nakuha niya. The patient had multiple injuries, no? Particularly sa paa. May dalawang gunshot wound siya sa may knee at saka sa may ankle na part. And buti na lang, nung na-x-ray namin dito sa hospital, after we brought her here, wala namang fractures.
Geraldine narrated her experience incoherently, still disoriented but responsive. She broke down when she started sharing how difficult it was to stay alive inside the danger zone.
Basta maka-flat lang yung katawan mo, masaya na kami noon. Yung rescuer na.
Saipuding stayed beside his wife, lovingly looking after her. Both are grateful their family is once again complete.
Walang maitatapat sa saya namin dalawa. Pati yung mga anak namin, nabuko ulit ang pamilya ko.
There are more families like them separated by war and brutality. Over 200,000 civilians have been displaced in Marawi. Hundreds are still trapped in the war zone and dozens killed.
Magmahalan tayo mga Pilipino. Mag-iisa tayo sa bawat isa. Tulungan natin ang dapat buhayin. Agapan natin ang nanghihingalong taong may pag-asa pang mabuhay.
The story of Saipuding and Geraldine is proof hope can still rise from the rubble. From Marawi City, George Cahiles, CNN Philippines.
A break from local stories for now. Here's a developing story from the United Kingdom. 6 people are confirmed dead following a huge blaze that tore through a residential apartment block in West London. 74 people are receiving treatment in area hospitals, 20 of them in critical condition. Authorities expect the numbers to rise and the recovery operation to be complicated and lengthy. Witnesses describe the horror and chaos that happened as the flames spread.
I just want to save my family. I saw people jumping out the window, man. It was crazy. Saw people jumping out the window.
Because we just could hear people, help, save my children, save my children. Like, there was more concern about they had their kids out the windows, there was jumping and there was panic. They just jumped.
They literally just jumped.
They panicked. They thought, well, I'm not going to sit here and suffocate or burn to death. And I have better chance by jumping.
And I think where all the authorities were at the bottom, they just assumed, you know, someone would catch or someone would be there.
Do you have any? Were you able, from where you were standing, to get any sense of what happened to these people?
Yeah, we definitely. Tamara was actually there.
Do you know if they were caught, if they survived?
No, there's a lot of dead bodies, a lot of kids, and you know, a lot of dead bodies that were all on the floor.
Officials released a statement saying the tower, built in the 70s, had been undergoing major refurbishment. Transport officials relax rules on the anti-distracted driving law. Find out how it will affect motorists. And the Manila concert of British singer Harry Styles next year is making Filipino fans go crazy this early, at least, according to an event partner. Details next here on CNN Philippines Newsroom. Good evening to those of you joining us on Facebook Live. Coming up for you in the next segment of Newsroom, we'll be talking more about the MRT woes. We were just telling you earlier about the long line, slower trains. So an MRT official talks to us about these system checks and what to expect. Also, we'll be telling you more about some business stories and about the Supreme Court hearings package there. We have a report from Anjo Alimario. We'd like to say hi to some of you who are greeting us on Facebook Live. Rusty Pulido is watching from the United Arab Emirates, and Chanda Kalapati is watching from Milan, Italy. We have several viewers from Italy, actually. Also from Arezzo, Manay Rose Pasis. Thank you for letting us know where you're watching from and for letting us know what you think of the stories. We continue to get a lot of reaction on our Marawi stories. Please stay with us until the end of the show. You're back in the newsroom on CNN Philippines. Officials relax implementing rules of the anti-distracted driving law. Motorists are now allowed to mount smartphones on dashboards as long as they're out of the driver's line of sight. Our JC Gotinga has the details.
Many motorists resisted the first salvo of the Anti-Distracted Driving Act, which banned smartphones on vehicle dashboards. They complained they couldn't do without mobile navigation apps, and keeping their phones down meant taking their eyes off the road. Transportation authorities heard them and adjusted the laws implementing rules and regulations. Now, motorists can mount smartphones or GPS devices on their dashboards as long as they don't stick out beyond 4 inches of the surface. This is to keep the driver's line of sight clear of any distraction.
As long as hindi naman siya grossly outside of the 4 inches, we will not split hairs on that also. Once it is mounted on a relatively safe zone, the presumption is the motorist was not in violation of the law.
But motorists must put their phones on hands-free mode. They're still prohibited from manually operating them. Authorities clarify the law does not cover dash cams. They are allowed and are best mounted on the rear-view mirror. The law does not mention decorative or religious items either.
Never was it naman geared towards prohibiting rosaries, the crucifix or 7 dwarfs or the waving cat.
Also, drinking coffee and putting on makeup are not prohibited. Motorists have different opinions on the new rules.
Line up side siya, pero hindi dito sa gitna, dito sa side. Kasi pag tumingin ka ng side mirror, ganyan, di ba? Dadaanan mo siya eh. Kung dito sa baba, mas mahirap siya.
Basta ang sa akin lang, magandang gawin nila Pag nahuli nila sa aktong nagte-text o kaya may hawak ng cellphone, tumatawag, yun ang dapat nilang higpitan.
From a public safety viewpoint, I think it's a good idea. Of course, we need to guard against corruption, no? as with any law, and we need to guard against abusive enforcers.
Just remember, calling and texting are still banned unless the driver has an emergency. The new rules will take effect on the first week of July. JC Gotinga, CNN Philippines.
Back to our top story. A number of commuters were seen enduring long lines at MRT stations during the evening rush hour. That as the train management operates fewer trains beginning today. From the usual 20 trains during peak hours in the morning and afternoon, only 15 are up and running. This is to give way to system checks in 4 days. Not only that, the train's running speed of 40 kilometers per hour is cut by half. This means longer travel time. We now speak with Deo Manalo, MRT Director for Operations. Good evening, sir. Thank you for taking our call tonight.
Yes, thank you, Mitzi.
Sir, this is the nth time that we're hearing of troubles at the MRT now, and of course a lot of frustration with the commuters. Do you think 4 days is really enough to address the system checks and all the problems with the MRT?
Well, what we're doing now is to check the axle of all the trains. And we projected that we'll complete all the checks within 4 days. But currently, we're making progress, and we might achieve the goal in shorter period.
All right, sir. And, of course, we heard also about the speed, which is much slower now. What message might you have to the commuters? Because we saw the lines tonight. Now, a lot of them are frustrated, and this will be going on for the next 4 days. Will there be any kind of other services that might help these travelers or commuters?
Yes, first of all, I would like to apologize to our commuting or our passengers because of the changes in our operations plan. So I think you already mentioned the modifications with it. One is the reduction of the number of trains, and the second will be the change in the speed. So we expected there'll be a huge drop in terms of capacity of MRT3, and we already advised through our press con earlier that passengers need to expect longer queues during peak hours.
All right. And as for, of course, it's difficult to predict other problems. This time, it's the first time that you actually detected the problem with the bogie. Do you think that, are there expectations that other problems may arise? Of course, by next week, can you guarantee a smooth running MRT system after this round of checks?
Yes, we're still doing the test now. So we'll make some announcements once we're done with the test. But we're hoping to complete all the tests and keep the train run at the original operations plan.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Deo Manalo, MRT Director for Operations.
Okay, thank you, Mitzi.
Have a good evening. Solicitor General Jose Calida faced the Supreme Court to defend President Duterte's martial law proclamation in Mindanao. He brought a piece of evidence to prove rebellion is indeed happening in Marawi that could spread to the whole island. Anjo Alimario has more.
Who would have thought that an ISIS flag would find its way to the Supreme Court? Solicitor General Jose Calida opened his argument by showing the terrorist flag to the justices. Scout Rangers recovered it in Marawi City.
This is Exhibit 1 for government. This is the one of the requisites of rebellion is when you give your loyalty to another entity, no, like ISIS. So rebellion ito.
Associate Justice Marvic Leonen was quick to point out this flag is also used by other Islamic groups.
Mr. Solicitor General, just because somebody has that flag, which contains the generic creed of someone that is Islam, a believer, someone who submits to the will of Allah, and that it is in their possession, would you agree with me that it is not necessarily the only fact that will prove that they are part of ISIS?
Calida argues President Duterte declared martial law in Mindanao since the Marawi attack was part of a grand plan to set up an Islamic state in Mindanao. But Associate Justice Mariano del Castillo asks, how did this plan slip the military?
Apparently, the Maute rebels were well prepared. How is it that our military, it's a total failure of intelligence. Don't you think, Solskjaer?
Intelligence gathering is not perfect, Your Honor. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. There are certain parts of the puzzle that are not yet clear.
Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno points out they need to rule correctly and provide guidelines, otherwise they will only add to the confusion.
And it is only a voice of clarity and sobriety that is most necessary in times of emergency.
Yes, Your Honor.
And it is, while the court is very concerned about the violence that is happening in Marawi, we must still protect the fabric that holds together our society.
Sereno says the court has to make sure the president discharges his authority in line with the framework that governs our country.
Definitely.
Otherwise, what will happen to this country, Attorney Manuel?
Then we will be destroying the institutions that had been built over several decades from the 1987 Constitution.
And what does it mean for us to destroy institutions, Attorney Manuel?
Then we are reverting back to the martial law period, Your Honor, during Marcos.
And to hear it straight from those discharging martial rule, Defense Chief and Martial Law Administrator Delfin Lorenzana and Armed Forces Chief and Martial Law Implementer Eduardo Año were summoned to appear for the third round of oral arguments. Anjo Alimario, CNN Philippines.
The Senate Committee on Agriculture challenges the Department of Agriculture in its no importation policy beginning next year. Based on a projection of the DA, there's no need to ship in rice from abroad because projected consumption won't exceed output. Committee head Cynthia Villar says this will help local farmers become profitable and make the country rice self-sufficient. Villar also suggests making vegetable an alternative to rice to lessen demand for the staple and at the same time encourage healthy living.
Dapat i-train na rin natin mga Filipinos na not to eat too much rice kasi nagiging diabetic, and you know, it's very expensive to cure diabetes.
Senator Cynthia Villar's remarks didn't go unnoticed to many netizens. Many are now weighing in on her proposal. This Twitter user appears disappointed. She says, quote, "Removing only rice is like removing a part of our culture." This one used an angry gif of a cartoon character to react to Villar calling for the only rice ban. At this time, the senator's name, Cynthia Villar, terms only rice and a popular only rice fast food chain are top trending topics on Twitter Philippines. The Oxford Business Group says the Philippines is still the best performing country in the region. It even claims the country is likely to be the next Asian tiger, beating other emerging markets like Vietnam and Myanmar. In this report, our Claire Hiao tells us the focus is now on the reform program and whether it's on the right track to sustain the growth momentum.
During the campaign, President Rodrigo Duterte vowed to continue the Aquino administration's economic policies. But business leaders are starting to notice some sweeping changes, especially in infrastructure. Instead of getting private sector partners to help build public works, the government is now opting to do everything on its own, using its overflowing budget as well as loans from other countries.
A lot of these PPP projects are being shelved aside. We haven't seen a single PPP project being bidded out or carried out.
The regional airport project was supposed to be the administration's first big-ticket infrastructure item. Crafted in 2014, it was ready for Public-Private Partnership or PPP last May, but postponed to make way for the elections. Instead of continuing the bidding, though, the new administration broke up the deal into smaller packages. This year, it decided to just scrap it all together, even though 5 companies were already qualified and ready to bid. Other PPP projects have since been put on hold, like the construction of regional prisons and the operation and maintenance of the LRT-2. Ayala Energy President and CEO Eric Francis says infrastructure is sorely needed in the Philippines, but projects are a multi-administration effort. He says rules shouldn't keep changing every 6 years.
So I'm not here to raise alarm bells and say we're screwed because, we just hit the reset button. I think we'll be screwed if we hit the reset button every 6 years.
Under the so-called Duterte-nomics, the government aims to build close to 5,000 infrastructure projects over the next 3 years. Only 33 of them will be under the PPP. Most will be funded by the national budget. The government says it's much faster this way.
In the previous administration, the negotiating part for the for PPPs took a very long time. Essentially, the bottom line is we want the approval process to be streamlined.
Claire Yao, CNN Philippines.
The Manila concert of former One Directioner Harry Styles is happening next year, but it's a certified record breaker this early. Concert partner Globe says slots for its customers attending the event were sold out in just 52 seconds. That's as of yesterday, June 13th. The telco giant reveals pre-registration for Harry Styles live on tour surpassed Coldplay's record of 6 minutes. Pre-registration qualifies Globe customers to reserve a maximum of 2 tickets on a first-come, first-served basis by registering to one of its promos. Customers can claim them during its pre-sale on Sunday, June 18th, just a day before tickets officially go on sale. British singer Harry Styles is performing in a solo concert on May 1st, 2018 at the Mall of Asia Arena. The show is part of the tour of his debut album released last month. Yaya Dub Maine Mendoza puts an end to speculations as to why she took a break from Twitter. CNN Philippines Newsroom will be right back. Hello to those of you joining us on Facebook Live. Let me see what some of you are saying. John Bellarmino is watching from Malaysia. Andreas Fritz watches us from Germany. And Policarpio Morales is watching from Donsol. Zainab Hornsby says, this world needs a hug. Well, that's very true. A big hug to everybody. And Rese Elarmo says, parang Syria na ang Marawi. Very sad. I think very sentiments among many people. Milagros Dacanay says she's watching from Taguig City, and Jerry Sumali is watching from General Santos City. Thank you very much for watching us here on Facebook Live. We love to hear from you, so please tell us what you think of the stories and where you're watching from. And for more stories, visit us on cnnphilippines.com. Please stay with us until the end of the show. Welcome back. Philippine Airlines passengers can expect a more comfortable trip with the launch of its reconfigured A330 aircraft. Our CN Arcangel tells us why.
More personal space, more amenities. Flying abroad will become a more comfortable experience as Philippine Airlines rolls out its tri-class Airbus A330. The 309-seater aircraft features 3 sections: economy, premium economy, and business. Each section features seats with a wider legroom and advanced in-flight entertainment system where passengers can access a wide variety of media content. Seats in the business class feature a massage function and can be fully reclined to become a bed. Meanwhile, each seat in the premium economy class has a leg rest and coat hook. Passengers can also charge their devices through USB ports or the in-seat power supply. PAL hosted a grand launch for its first reconfigured A330 yesterday at the Villamor Air Base. Tourism Secretary Juan Dateo and veteran lawyer Estelito Mendoza were among those who got an exclusive tour of the cabin and tried out the new seats. PAL President and Chief Operating Officer Jaime Bautista says the premium economy section was introduced to give passengers more options when flying. He adds the reconfiguration of A330s is part of PAL's plan to be at par with the world's best airlines.
For those passengers who are not willing to spend much for business class, they can try our premium economy. And they can also enjoy the flight. We have the same amenities. We have the same in-flight entertainment system, just a little smaller screen. We really want to provide the desired customer experience, to our passengers. This is a part of our program to become a 5-star carrier in 2020.
The tri-class A330 will be flown for the first time on the Manila-Honolulu route on Thursday. Between July and November, similar planes will be flown to Melbourne, Sydney, Singapore, Haneda, Narita, and Osaka. CN Arcangel, CNN Philippines.
Dove Smash Queen Maine Mendoza speaks up for the first time after deactivating her Twitter account last week. On her personal blog, MaineMendoza.com, dated June 11th, the TV host tells fans she's back after taking a breather in the Maldives. Mendoza says she, quote, decided to take a break from Twitter, too, because Twitter world's been really toxic lately, unquote. The former Destined to Be Yours star adds she just cannot stand people's negativity on the microblogging platform lately and that she had enough of it. But Mendoza clarifies in a reply to a blog comment, for the record, it was never about the baddies. Bashers are there 24/7 and I honestly don't mind them. Mendoza took a break from Twitter last week after some of her fans began fighting among themselves and bashed actor Seth Cadayona following rumors of their alleged relationship. And that's a newsroom for you this evening. I'm Mitzi Borromeo. Thank you for watching. Good night.